about what's going on today, but he passed away years ago.
No, what did he say?
I'll forward it to you. Very short.
Okay. Good morning to one and all. Today's halakha is actually the first halakha of book 4. Halakha 1 on book 4. שאלה, האם הכיפה שעל הראש צריכה לכסות את כל הראש או רובו, או שמא אין שיעור מיוחד לגודל הכיפה ודי בכל שהוא? Is there a size requirement for a kippah? Or does any size suffice for the kippah that we wear?
Depends on the size of the head.
You have a big head.
Depends if you're Naftali or Benny.
By the way, Moshe, when I read this halakha, the first person I thought about was Bennett. The first person I thought about. You cannot see his kippah. B'Kiddushin, page 31 in Kiddushin, Rav Huna b'led Rabbi Yehoshua, lo haya holech 4 amot b'gilui harosh. It says straight out in the Gemara Kiddushin, Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yehoshua, did not walk 4 amot, which is around 6 to 8 feet, unless his head was covered. Amar shechina lema'ala miroshi. The shechina is above my head. How could I walk barren with an empty head outside, nothing on top of it? Gemara Shabbat adds, Amar Rav Huna b'led Rabbi Yehoshua, it's the same rabbi. Amar Rav Huna b'led Rabbi Yehoshua, titi li. Sometimes in the Gemara it says the words Moshe. By the way, you should know that's raw milk. What you're holding there is raw milk. That's my. You can have it, but people think it's not healthy. I drink it, but you've been warned. It's not pasteurized. Amar Rav Huna, I should probably put it in a different fridge. Amar Rav Huna b'led Rabbi Yehoshua, titi li. Sometimes in the Gemara, the rabbis they're not boasting, but they're trying to teach their students something that they're very, very proud of. So titi li means you should give me. I should be rewarded. I should be rewarded for something special that I did. And a lot of times the Gemara Megillah, like a lot of rabbis in the road, they'll say titi me because of this, titi me because I did this. Titi li. It's 2 words, which means I should be rewarded. Why? Shelo halachti 4 amot b'gilui harosh, because I never walked around 4 amot without a kippah. Now titi li means I should be rewarded like I'm a special person. Would you say you learn from this that it's mandatory to wear a kippah or not mandatory? Right? So you would say maybe that it's not mandatory. Why?
It sounds like it's not.
Yeah, but
Actually, it could go both ways. It could say,
so that's my
could say I never failed in a mandatory thing.
Right, but what are you boasting about?
Say I'm above and behind. I even do with the non-mandatory. You could read it both ways.
Gemara Shabbat says, she'imo shel Rav Rahman bar Yitzhak, the mother of Rav Rahman bar Yitzhak, she always told him, cover your head, her son, who ended up being the big rabbi. Don't go with an uncovered head. So you should always have the fear of heaven when you feel the kippah on your head. In the Zohar HaKadosh, Parashat Balak, it says, don't go 4 amot without a kippah. The light of the Shekhinah is on top of your head. And that's giving you your life source. The oil that's on your head should never go away. That's the Shekhinah, the light of the Shekhinah. The Zohar HaKadosh says in Peshat Pinchas, Asur the Tamid Hacham lalechet 4 amot b'gilui harosh. The Zohar says a rabbi cannot walk 4 amot without a kippah. Mishum shenemar melo chol haaretz kevodo. Hashem fills the whole world with His honor. Umikol shekin she'asur levarech u'lazkir Hashem b'gilui harosh. You cannot make any berachot or pray unless a man's head is covered. V'chen katav Rambam b'sefer Moreh Nevuchim. Maimonides writes this: Shegedolei Hachamenu, the great rabbis, hayu nizharim lehimana miligilot rosham mipnei she'shekhinah hofefet v'sochechet otam, because they would never walk around without a kippah because the Shekhinah is hovering over their head. B'ineh mevuah b'sefer Orochot Hayim. It says in the Sefer Orochot Hayim, and also in the Sefer Kolbo, in the name of the Maharam Mirutenberg, who was a great rabbi. He says as follows: Maharam Mirutenberg says, En isud minadin lalechet b'gilui harosh. It's not forbidden from the letter of the law to walk around with no kippah. This that we said in the Shabbat, titili, I should be rewarded because I never went without a kippah. Titili shelo halachti 400 bigilui harosh. Zeo midat hasidut. This is called being special, which is why you're asking for reward. So midat hasidut, if you want to be special and pious, you should wear the kippah. But from minadin, he says, you don't have to wear kippah. And so says the Tashbats, Shilashon titili, the words I should be rewarded, muchach dehaveh midat hasidut. It shows that you're being special and above the law. Okay, and agrees with this the Ritva and the Ran and other Rishonim. V'chen muchach min lashon hazohar Parashat Pinchas. If you look at the words of the Zohar we just read, it says Tamidei Hachamim. It doesn't say everybody, all people have to. And also from the words of the Rambam, he says the Hachamim also wear kippahs. Maran Bet Yosef Maran Bet Yosef brings the kolbo in the name of the Maharam in Rottenburg that it's not asud from the halacha, from the letter of the law. Omnam, however, Bet Yosef in Siman 46, the Bet Yosef, Maran Rav Yosef Cairo Katav, Sha'atam lebirkat oter Yisrael b'tif'ara. Why do we say this beracha? Oter Yisrael b'tif'ara. Lefi she'asud lalichet 4 amot b'gilui harosh. Bet Yosef says straight out, because it's asur, it's forbidden to walk 4 amot without a kippah. That's why we make the beracha, oter Yisrael b'tif'ara. Asur, he says, Maran Bet Yosef. Va'afilu debrei mifaresh she'eno asur lalichet b'gilui harosh. Even according to those who say it's not asur, mikol makom modeh shemidat hasidut hi shelo lalichet b'gilui harosh. So at least Maran Bet Yosef would say it's midat hasidut for every person, maybe even asur to go bareheaded. V'chen amnu b'zohar hakadosh b'shat nasoah. Since the Jewish people always have to remember about Hashem, so straight out, that's why we make this beracha. It seems from here that the opinion of Maran Shulchan Aruch is that it's forbidden to go without a kippah. And it says also further in the Bet Yosef in Siman 8. However, the halakha must follow the later siman. Whenever you have conflicting opinions from Maran Shulchan Aruch, you gotta go by the later siman. And the later siman is siman 91. And siman 91 says you cannot make a beracha without a kippah. It doesn't say you cannot have existence without a kippah. You can't. So therefore, we see from siman 91 she'en ze ela memidat hasidut uchpashtut tashas. It must be that it's just a nice, good thing to do to wear a kippah, but it's not required.
Is Siman 91 is only a reference to kippah?
No, it's talking about all the laws of prayer, what you should wear, what you should do.
I understand, but is that the only time he gives us a real halacha on kippah?
No, also Siman Bet also.
So there is an expanded halacha on
kippah. But in 91, he says you shouldn't pray without a kippah.
Which makes you believe that you could be
if you're not praying
without.
Right. If you look at Siman Bet of Shulchan Aruch, Siman 2, Asur lilech bekuma zekufa, you cannot walk around hori, v'lo yelech 4 amot b'gilui harosh, and you shouldn't, v'lo yelech 4 amot b'gilui harosh, you shouldn't walk 4 amot without a kippah. He doesn't say asur. First he says asur lilech bekuma zekufa, you cannot walk around hori. He should have used the same word, asur, but he didn't. When it comes to walking around hori, he says asur. And then he says you shouldn't walk 4 amot without a kippah. And he didn't use the same word isur. So we see from here it seems that he doesn't hold it's forbidden from the letter of the law to walk around your house with no kippah.
It seems to be like highly recommended.
Yeah, very highly recommended. Lo yelech, you shouldn't go, but not asur. Okay. Now, the Sefer Maharshal writes a kind of a strange proof from a midrash. The midrash says as follows. It says in the midrash Vayikra Rabbah, Amar Rabbi Berachia, Melech Basar V'Adam Meshaged Perut Kama, a king of flesh and blood, sends a letter, Igeret Malchut, a letter, the Medina, to all these citizens to read. Ma'osim Kol Bnei Medina. What do people do when they see the letter of the king? Omdim al ragleihem, everyone must stand up. You know, they used to read the proclamations of the king in public. Now it's an email probably, or a WhatsApp message, but now they used to read it. And so everyone would stand up, and they would take off their coverings from their head, to listen to the words of the king. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, correct. This is listen to the midrash. And they read it with awe and fear. This is a midrash saying Melech Basar V'Adam does, a king of flesh and blood does. Abal Kadosh Baruch Hu, Omer Yisrael, but Hashem tells the Jewish people, Banai, Kir'u Kriyat Shema, read Shema. I'm not telling you take off your kippah, your hat. I'm not telling you stand up. Just read Shema. And so the midrash is showing us that Hashem makes it very easy for us to be Jews. That's the midrash. And there's another line to the midrash which we'll read in 1 second. But the Mahashal says, Mashma, she'eni sur lekrot b'fri atarosh. Must be allowed to read if I want to with my hat off my head. Because Hashem says, I'm not requiring you to remove your hat. Must be that removing the hat is allowed. I'm just not requiring it.
If it was an option to require it, it means that there is no need to it.
Exactly. That's his proof from the midrash. Even though the Mahashal's proof really does have assistance from the French rabbis, if you look in the Sefer Ozarua, which they talk about this as well, his proof is kind of strange. In the Sefer Shut Yaakov, it pushes off this proof from this midrash. He says, if you read the next line of the midrash, what does the midrash say? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Lo itrachti alechem yagea beharim ulehavi korban min haya she'ena b'shutecha. I didn't require you to go hunting in the mountains and find wild animals to bring me a sacrifice. I only want sacrifices from domestic animals that's in your backyard, farm animals. That's the next line of the midrash. If you use the same logic that we just used from the first line, then I didn't make you take off your hat. So taking off the hat would be okay. So the same logic would apply to the second part of the midrash. I didn't require you to go hunt wild boars. So wild boars would be okay.
It's not the part. The comparison, the parallel should have been, if you want to go and hunt a deer, which is kosher. Then
deer is exclusion. Most of the kosher animals are farm animals.
I understand, but what he does, he draws a parallel, not on the distance, but on kosher versus no kosher. So the parallel doesn't work.
Let's see what he says. Who would have thought you could bring korban from a haya, from a wild beast? Only domesticated animals Hashem wants. And so therefore, don't bring me this proof.
I know.
It's a midrash. Listen, you're trying to bring a proof from a midrash like this anyway. The whole thing probably. So says the Hida brings the Gaon, Rav Moshe Galanti, l'dahot rayat mashal, to push off this whole midrash proof. The Hida says, he says, stop it with this midrash. It's only midat hasidut, says the Hida. Wearing a kippah is only a good thing to do, proper thing to do, but it's not required. He says, look at the Mana Bet Yosef. Everyone can see. It's not forbidden to walk around with a kippah, says the Hida. It's just midat hasidut. It's a good thing to do. And he says, Mahari Ayash, who says it's forbidden to walk around bareheaded, he says, no, I pushed that off. So the Hida, so the Hida says, it was a big rabbi, the Hida says it's not required from halakha to wear kippah. By the way, we are not talking about for prayer. We're just talking about walking around. Prayer, you have to wear kippah for prayer, or a benching or whatever. Just walking around. The Hida says it's not required, but it's a very good thing to do. Even though our beloved friend, Hacham Avoda's friend, Rav Shalom Masas, he just passed away in 2003. In his Sefer Tivot Shamesh, not hakav lo mashadat Mana Bet Yosef le'esod min adin lelechat b'giloi rosh. Rav Shalom Masas says the Marash HaAruch holds its asur from the halacha, not like Siman 91, like it says in Bet Yosef. The Marash HaAruch holds its asur to walk around without a kippah. Ha'emet, says Hacham Avodah, ha'emet Torah darka. The truth of this Torah is she'aikar k'mo shkutav Mana Hida. You gotta go by the Hida. The Chida says, she'en ze ela mimidat hasidut. It's only a good thing to wear kippah, and it's not required. This is also the opinion of the Ma'amar Mordechai, the Bah, the Magen Avraham, Ashkenaz rabbis, Sefer Sha'a Zekenim, Gud Al Yehuda, another Ashkenaz rabbi, Nahalat Binyamin, Shut Maharitatz, Hatzvi. A lot of rabbis agree that you cannot say to someone, if he's walking around his office without a kippah, that you're violating a halacha. However, he's violating what the Maran says in Siman Bet, that you should wear a kippah. But it's not required from halacha according to the Chida. Omnam, however, we're not done.
But the halacha, you should means tzivui or ratzui. Velo yelech.
You should really
on the first part of his thing. Velo yelech. So it sounds like a highly recommended.
But the great Rabbi Yosef Karo was saying to you, you shouldn't walk bareheaded like this. But he's not using the word asur.
Yeah.
Omnam, haturei zahav, the Taz, the great Taz. He brings this midrash. He writes on this midrash proof that the midrash proof was showing that it's okay to not wear a kippah. The Taz says, forget this midrash proof. I have a different reason. I think it's a isur gamur. It's 100% forbidden to walk around bareheaded. Why? It's the non-Jewish law now. When they sit down in a formal gathering, they take off their hats. We do it for the national anthem. You cannot act like the non-Jews act. And so nowadays in 2003, we have a different story. But at least if you look back at the old, even 50, 60 years ago, a woman walks in the room, the man takes his hat off. Hello, ma'am. That's the way it used to be. The plumber would take his hat off when he walks in the house.
But it was never army duck.
Right, but you can't act like them. They take their hats off when something's important, so you keep your hat on. That's what the Taz is saying.
Correct.
Don't act like the goyim. Keep your hat on your head. That's what he's saying. That's why he says it's a different isur of not acting like the non-Jews. I don't like it. If people take their hats off because they're hot, now, disclaimer, in my opinion, Chacham Ovadia is a Sephardic Jew from Middle Eastern countries. It's hot in those countries. Maybe he doesn't even understand the Taz was Ashkenaz. The Taz, so it could be that they had a misunderstanding of the reasons. Chacham Ovadia says, what are you talking about? They don't take off their hats for formality. They take off their hats because they're hot. That's what Chacham Ovadia says to the Taz. It doesn't mean, it's not a violation of acting like a non-Jew. Like if a non-Jew rolls up his sleeves because it's hot, that doesn't mean you can't roll up your sleeves because it's hot. It's only not to dafka do a law that they do or a practice they do. And so therefore, he says, I don't agree with this Taz, and it's not a violation of walking around. And again, maybe I don't think the Taz meant this because of hot. I'm not no one to argue on the rabbi. But we'll move on over here. In the Sefer Matei Ephraim, the Matei Ephraim pushes rejects this Turei Zahav, the Taz. They only take their hats off because they're hot, not because they're being formal. And also, if a Jewish person would take off his hat, he's not doing it to act like a goy. He's doing it because he's hot. Again, I don't think that's the reason why.
No, but plus they're missing the whole point. The goyim, what they do is they walk with the hat, and like you said, somebody walks in, they take off the hat. But you're talking about default. You don't put it on. It's different than taking. And there is a gesture in taking.
But he's saying also the Jewish person, if he were to take his hat off, it's because he's hot. I'm not trying to be like the goyim. You think that's the reason why people take their hats off? Well, outside the shul, it's 50 degrees hotter than inside the shul. All of a sudden, it gets pretty hot. As you're walking out the shul, the kippah has to come off. I don't think so. Therefore, he says, I don't agree with the Taz. I'm not saying it's forbidden to not wear a kippah. Okay, let's move on a little bit. הפתח דוד, 904. הפתח דוד הביא דברי המטה אפרים, ותמה גאון איש צדיק בעל בית עובד תשובה קצת. Okay, נדחק. Now, in the Sefer, in any event, נראה שבכיסוי הראש בזמננו, covering our heads in these days, was relatively in our generation, יש טעם יותר ממידת חסידות. I have a reason why you have to wear kippah above just being good. More that has to happen. כי ידוע שזה דרכם של החופשים. פורקי או תורה ומצוות ללכת בגילוי הראש. Everyone knows a non-religious Jew walks around with no kippah. ויש היכר מיוחד להכיר בין עובד אלוקים לאשר לא עובדו. It's a very easy test to see who's from and who's not from. Does he wear a kippah? And therefore, if you don't wear a kippah, you're showing the world you don't serve Hashem the right way.
Is that the problem with Godezu?
שהדתיים נזהרים ללכת תמיד בכיסוי הראש. The from people, the religious people, always wear kippah. והופכה הכיפה, it's a play on words, הופכה הכיפה שעל ראשם לסמל, סמל, a sign? לסמל, לאדם, symbol, לאדם דתי. The kippah is no longer even about Shekhinah now. It's about a status symbol, that you are a religious person. Shemuna Shamayim alav, that you fear God.
Oh, it's more than status. It's a testimony.
It's
made.
Yeah.
Once you made on yourself that
everyone,
you made on yourself, there's a whole.
But it's for everyone else also and for you. Yeah.
Correct.
V'im ken says Echamadia, Misha olech b'gilui rosh, someone who walks around with no kippah, yesh lahushpo mishum marita ayin. It's marita ayin. People are going to suspect and what's a good word? They're going to suspect him.
They're going to assume
that you are not from and you don't keep the mitzvot. Says there are some religious people from outside of Israel, only outside of Israel, and they don't wear kippahs like they do in outside of Israel, and they are religious. It's a minority of a minority of people who don't wear kippah and still keep all the mitzvot, says the Chamadia. Therefore, what are you going to do about this problem? It's marita ayin. People are going to think that you don't keep Torah. It's your job to make sure that you are clean in the eyes of your Jewish brothers and sisters. And it says, you have to find favor in the eyes of Hashem and people. Yes, we're not going to try and make new things asud. I'm not going to use the word asud, but I'm not going to use the word midat hasidut. It's a nice thing to do. It's more than midat hasidut. You really should wear a kippah.
It's like taking it from highly recommended to extremely very high.
Yeah. He's trying really hard to say that you have to, but it's not forbidden not to. Anyone who wears a kippah on his head has officially been away from people thinking he's not from. 2 more parts and we'll wrap this one up. The great Rabbi Shlomo Kluger writes in the Sefer Hayalef Shlomo. He has an interesting hidush, which kind of, I don't know. Let's see what you think of it. Sheyesh Hiluf, Yariv. Good catch. This is a good throw, by the way. That's a great throw. Sheyesh Hiluf, here's what he says. Ben Gilui Harosh legamri shu asur min adin, legilui miksat harosh shu rak midat hasidut. Says the Sefer Shlomo Kluger was a great rabbi. He says, if you have 0 kippah on your head, that's asur. Minadin, forbidden. If you have a tiny, like in my growing up, listen, the Syrians, we wear big kippahs like this. So we make fun of the Ashkenazim and the Israelis, and we call them bottle cap kippahs. They wear bottle caps on their heads, basically. So if you wear a bottle cap kippah, you fulfilled the halacha, and now you're not doing the midat hasidut though, but you're not asur. That's what he's trying to thread the needle. This is, and he says, if you hold to this, all the questions we had are answered. Titi li I should be rewarded. What do you mean you should be rewarded? You have to wear a kippah. No, you have to wear a tiny kippah. I wear a big kippah.
I covered all my.
There you go. And so therefore, and the same thing for Midrash. The Midrash says, I didn't tell you not to take off your head. No, there's a difference. It's okay to wear a tiny kippah, but a big kippah is good. So therefore, his chidush is differentiating between tiny kippahs.
He's going
and
on
a
the
big
size
kippah.
versus on the concept.
There you go. ובאמת, says the Chamadia, שאין זה במשמעות המדרש. I appreciate the chidush, but it doesn't make sense to say to slice the midrash in half. That's talking about a small kippah versus a big kippah. אלא שפורעים לו שם לגמרי. וגם דבריו נגד המהר"ם מרמברג. You also arguing with the מהר"ם מרמברג, who says that you don't have to wear kippah at all. Okay. מכל מקום, says the Chamadia, העיקר כדברי מהר"ם וסיעתו. You gotta hold like the מהר"ם מרמברג, like the Chida. The halakha doesn't differentiate between tiny kippah, big kippah, size. It's not asur, it's not forbidden to walk around without a kippah, although you should wear a kippah. And who agrees with the Chamadia? Rav Moshe Feinstein. Rav Moshe Feinstein agrees, and he says, Tamam me'od ala gaon Reb Shlomo Kluger. You see these words? Rav Moshe Feinstein was like, what are you saying about size? A small kippah is mandatory and a big kippah is not. Rav Moshe Feinstein. שאיך ייתכן לפרש כמדברי הגמרא שהוא פירוש זר ודחוק מאוד. It's an interesting חידוש, but it's very strange. ולכן העלה רב משה says שמודה הגאון רב שלמה קלוגר שמדין הגמרא אין חילוק בין גילוי הראש. He says, Rav Moshe Feinstein says, if the rabbi says you don't have to wear a kippah, it means you don't have to wear anything. Not that you have to wear a tiny kippah. Okay. According to the Taz, though, the problem is these days we still have the problem according to the Taz. The Taz holds you can't copy the goyim, and goyim take their kippahs off. Even if it's just for not even walking around, a goy takes his kippah off. You got to leave yours on. Says the Chamadia, this is very nice pilpul. As pilpul in sign language means this. That's pilpul with the thumb. Chamadia says it's very nice pilpul. It's a good discussion for yeshiva guys, but this is not going to affect the halakha. The main halakha is really the proper way is to have a kippah covering the whole head or majority of the head. And the Sefer Shu'er v'nish'al. Mikol makom, gam bekippah ketana, even a small kippah, efshar ladun me'akel. You can say that it's okay. We can be lenient with a small kippah. Ubelbad, however, shetiyeh nid'et hetev mikol sedadeh harosh. As long as the kippah can be seen from all sides of the head, no matter what side of the person Bennett's kippah is seen only on one side of his head. As long as whatever side of the person you're around, you can see his kippah, it would be okay. Hen milifanim, hen me'achor, whether in the back or the front. V'lo kippah ketana, not a tiny kippah, shebekoshi efshar le'avchin ba, that if you focus really strongly, you can say, oh, he's wearing a kippah. No. Says the Chamadia. וכמו שכתב הרב הגאון רבי עובדיה הדיה, זה חלבי, in ספר יסקל עבדי, שפעמים רבות היה גוער באלה, this Rabbi Hadaya, פעמים רבות היה גוער באלה, he would yell at these guys, המקילים לעצמם ללבוש כיפה קטנטנה, tiny. כיפה קטנטנה, he would yell at people who wore tiny kippahs, שאינה מכסה רק חלק קטן מהראש, only covers a dot on the head. In the Sefer Simchat Kohen, Nish'al Odot Halabashim Kippah Ketana Me'achare Rosham, he asks about like a Naftali Bennett kippah, a kippah that you only see on the back of the head. If you look in the front of the guy, you don't see a kippah at all. Should we not give these guys an aliyah to the Torah? Maybe they shouldn't get an aliyah because it's like they're not wearing kippah. Unless they get a new kippah. We don't do and he answers, what are you going to benefit by not setting into the Torah? It's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. If you tell him put his kippah on the front, now the back's not going to be seen. Tell them that they should buy a bigger kippah. If they don't want to buy another kippah, or they can't have a bigger kippah, don't stop sending them to the Torah for this reason. They're not going to pray at all then. What do you want them not to come to shul? That's not going to benefit you. Ulam says it in the summary, the bottom line halacha. B'sha'at kriyat shema utfila. Says the Chamadia, when it comes to prayer time, when it's time to bench, make a beracha or pray, shemekabel alav al malchut shamayim, where you're accepting Hashem on you, sarich lizahed yoter l'lbosh kippah shemechaseh rov harosh. You should wear a big kippah when you pray.
And again, you should.
Yeah, sarich lizahed. You need to be very careful to wear a big kippah when you pray that covers the whole head or majority of the head, but you can see it on all sides. Shaarey Yerushalayim, kikon lekrat Elohecha Yisrael. You have to prepare yourself before you pray. The Meiri says, people come to shul, they take the hat off. Because it's so hot, they take their hat off. And they have a tiny kippah on their heads. Like they wear at home. And they pray like this. This is a chutzpah to Hashem. You wouldn't walk in front of, you wouldn't stand like this way in front of an important person. And the Mishnah Berurah Chavetz Chaim says the same thing. Okay. Let's skip to the end. It is very proper to be strict with this. Especially for benching. Wear a big kippah for benching. Okay. The summary. It is allowed from the halakha to wear a tiny kippah on your head, even though it doesn't cover the majority of the head. But the kippah needs to be seen from both sides, from all directions of the guy. That's what is halakha. When you pray and you say Shema, and bekat hamazon, ra'ui la'akpid. It is proper to be careful, to be hakpid. Lehabosh kova, to wear a hat, or kippah, or at least a kippah hamechaseh rov harosh, a big kippah that covers most of the head. The people should listen and be blessed. And so therefore it comes from here, really, if you're a small kippah guy, you should probably have two kippahs. A shul kippah and a regular kippah. If
you use the term probably, you should probably switch to a big kippah guy. But
that's
you're
the best
okay.
thing to do.
You can get away with anything. That's
but when it comes to tefillah, your kippah should be seen on all sides of the head. It should be a bigger kippah for tefillah.
That's two questions.
Yes.
Hashtag Naftali.
Naftali better.
One, lot it go they do those, and the second one is men or women don't have kippah and they make a blessing. Can you answer amen?
Yes, you can answer amen. There's a halakha. Yes, the answer is yes. You can answer amen.
Lot it go they
What they do, you don't make separation. You don't make groups.
This group is with kippah.
Yeah, but there is no way it's okay for Jewish people to classify other Jews by the kippah they wear. It's the silliest thing ever. That should never happen. It's ridiculous, especially not now. All right, yalla. Let's go straight to the next.